Hi, I'm Lance Allan, and this is always one of the favorite days of my calendar and year where we get to introduce some of the new finalists for the Quickie Driver Development Program. And this year, once again, we have a Wisconsin native, Wisconsin driver, and that always makes my heart proud. And it is the one, the only Penn Sauter. So, congratulations, Penn. And I guess we start off, since this is the first interview, with when you found out that you're one of the five finalists for this prestigious award. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, Ryan called me this morning, and I was a little bit shocked. He told me that he was going to make me sweat it out to the end, and he definitely did. He called me around 7:55, and he told me, "Hey, congratulations, you'll be one of the finalists," and just a really good honor to be a part of this, and I'm looking forward to the year ahead.
Being from Wisconsin, I always have to ask the question, but it bears asking, and it bears the name of this program. What does racing mean in Wisconsin when you have a name like Kowicki? And I know your racing heritage and things like that, but just being a part of the Wisconsin racing scene, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it means a ton. Slinger has the quickie race, and that's like pretty local. Like no one else really has a quickie race. Yeah, I mean, it's just really cool. Allen, he won a NASCAR championship. He's from Wisconsin. His roots are in Wisconsin. He's got that museum in Wisconsin. Just so many things can go back to Allen in Wisconsin. And to be the guy from Wisconsin representing it is going to be pretty cool.
Your grandpa Jim obviously knew Alan Kulwicki, and your dad Johnny obviously knew Alan Kulwicki. What stories have you heard about Alan, and what things do you kind of take near and dear to your heart when you kind of hear the old guys, so to speak, Penn, talk about the old days of racing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've heard really good stories. My grandpa raced him forever. My dad watched him on the hill forever. It's just really cool to hear about how he like made his way through the ranks. Back then he was one of the first guys to come out of Wisconsin, like me and you talked about, to actually get to NASCAR and to win a championship with his own team. That's the one they like to hit home the most is winning a NASCAR championship with your own team. It's tough to do, and he made it work.
I've got to ask because people know you somewhat by your last name, and I'm going to start right there with we already mentioned like your grandpa Jim, your dad Johnny, your uncles Tim and Jay. They all raced in some level of NASCAR, and your dad Johnny obviously won a trucks championship. What positives do you feel like your name and the racing heritage and just the richness of what your family has been able to achieve over the years in this great sport? How has that helped you?
Oh yeah, it helps a ton. I got my all like every uncle is raced, all my grandpas raced. My dad raced. I can lean on them for things. I can ask them questions. It's hard to come from a family that doesn't race because you're kind of making your own way. Where I'm still making my own way, but I got people to lean on, and I appreciate it a lot. We can go to a new racetrack, and my dad can tell me every in and out of it before I'm even on the track, and it's the little stuff that helps like that.
I know you're used to getting kind of uncomfortable with media, so I'm not asking this question for you to sell any of your family members out or anything like that. But what are the negatives that come with a name like Sauter, and just some things that you've had to deal with? And can you even joke around about sometimes people expect you to be this or that or whatever, or sometimes what do you have to fight through?
Yeah, obviously, today's social media, people, there's a lot of positives, there's a lot of negatives, and that's just something that comes with being part of racing nowadays. Social media is a big part of it. Social media presence, it's what people like to see, and my dad has had some run-ins in his career, and people say, "Oh, hopefully he's not like his dad in this way," and then there's other people who really love my dad. So, I mean, there's just a lot of both sides to it, but usually I try to, at the end of the day, I try to block it out and. I'm going to be the race car driver that I'm going to be, and hopefully people like me.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And that's a perfect segue into my next question is, like you said, your dad has learned to navigate the media waters and whether people like you or don't like you or things like that, or like the way you go about your business or don't or whatever. And then I also think, you're a product of your raisin, as the old country song says. And your mom, Courtney, I have known her for a while, and she dealt with the PR end of it, the communications end of it, and has been in the racing world for a long time. What have you learned as far as like doing interviews like this? How important is social media and getting your message out for people to understand who Penn Sauter is?
Yeah, obviously, it's a little bit different back when my dad raced. He didn't have to deal with all the social media when he first started out. But my mom's been a big help. She helps run socials. She does a lot for me. She knows how to play the game in a sense. She knows what to say, when to say it. If I have a bad race, I want to go on social media and tell the people what I think. But it's important, like to say the positive things. Oh, we're going on to the next week, and she's just been a really big help in keeping my head straight.
I see a couple of trophies and a couple of awards and things behind you. What does that mean in the family? And are you going to build that that trophy case?
Yeah, I got some pictures of my dad here. From a couple of races he won. I got one of his trophies from a race he won. Yeah, and obviously it's just so I see all the trophies he has and all the accomplishments he's had, and I just want to keep digging and try to get same deal.
I know I've talked to your dad about this, but how cool is it that he can say that he is a NASCAR champion? And as his son, how cool is it that you can go to school, you can talk to other people and say, hey, my dad made the pinnacle of the level, the sport, the whatever you want to say that he was in.
Yeah. So my dad, he's more of a humble guy. He doesn't go boast around and say, "Oh, I'm a NASCAR champion." But me being his son, it's really cool, to say if you really go down and think about it, my dad's a NASCAR champion. Being there that night, that was just a really cool night, and it's my dream to be a NASCAR champion someday, and so that's my goal.
So let's talk about your career so far. And you're in the early stages. You're only 16 years old, but obviously you do have some experience under your belt. How did it all kind of start for you? Because, yeah, you grew up with a racing family, but you have to have a love and a passion for it as well. So when do you feel like you really started on this journey? And then later on, Penn, when did you feel like it kind of clicked for you?
Yeah, so I always went to my dad. He raced in obviously the truck series, and he had his local short track car, and I would go, and I just begged him for a go kart, something like that, and he kept telling me to wait. He just wanted me to mature a little, and then when I finally turned 10, we tested a Bandolero, and then the next year we ended up buying one, and we just raced that for 3 years up until 2023. And the last year, we won like 26 out of 30 races, and that's when we really said, all right, it's time. And we ended up moving up to a pro late. We ran a year in that, had a lot of top five runs, good speed, won a race, pole. And then this last year, we got together with Duke and Ronda Thorson. I can't thank them enough for what they've done for me over this last year. And we got in the super late model world, 17 top 10s and 26 races. It's not wins, but it's something we can really build on. Being the first year in a super late, it's a whole different ball game. And yeah, that's just kind of like how I went through my career. And going back to my dad telling me to keep waiting until he was going to buy me that race car, I appreciate it a lot now because it made me mature so much more as I went on.
Last rear view mirror question I'm going to ask you is, do you remember your first real race, whether it was like jumping on that track in the Dells or lacrosse or whatever it was? Maybe just describe what that feeling was when you're first getting going.
Yeah, it was at Golden Sand Speedway, and it was like May of 2021. And
Plover, Wisconsin. I know it
yeah,
well. Yeah.
yeah, and I had tested like 2 or 3 times, and man, I was so scared throughout the day. I remember we showed up for practice, and I was just shaking, and we ended up finishing fifth that night. And ever since then, people always say, "Oh, do you get nervous?" And to be honest, before every race, I'm always nervous. It's just I'm starting to get into the rhythm of go out and do your job, and it'll be a good day.
I liked you listing some of your stats because, like you said, like you've got, some things that work in your favor and some things that don't. But if people doubt your abilities, you can just say, hey, in the super lates last season, I believe, yeah, six top fives, 17 top tens in 26 races. I think those statistics are pretty good. I'm sure you want wins and you want to improve upon that in 2026. But how do you feel about the base that you've started so far?
Yeah, so obviously our last year was our first it was our first year with the brand new Fury car. It was our first year for a lot of things. My dad, he's been racing late models across, the state the last couple of years, but before that he had never really raced a full schedule. And I feel like we just had to go around to every track and get our baseline down. And now I feel like we've built our notebook enough that we can go to these tracks and be successful right off the truck.
I know you've raced your dad a couple of times. He can be pretty tough out there. Does he give you much of anything, like even an inch or two out there?
Actually, if you watch the Norway race from this past summer, you'd say no. But yeah, obviously, he's followed me in a practice session, and he can tell me what I'm doing differently. And it's useful to have him out there instead of just sitting up on the hill watching me trying to tell me what he thinks, because he's actually seeing in the first perspective.
I saw clips of the Norway race. That's why I asked. So it was he didn't take it any easier on you than
No.
anybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The whole day I was joking around. And I'm saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be the ones that wreck," and then we actually did. I was like, "Oh man."
what was the conversation like after that? Are you allowed to repeat it?
I don't even think we had a conversation, honestly. He was kind of disappointed. I was disappointed with my night, and just went on to the next week.
It's a learning process, my friend. It really is. And how does your schedule shape up? I know people are now, and I hear your name. Like obviously in here in the suburban Milwaukee area, we've heard about you coming up, and now it seems like you're on the precipice and on the cusp of doing something really special. What is your schedule? What is your plan? I assume Slinger Nationals and things like that, but maybe just explain some of the bigger races that people can watch you.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to hit most of the Midwest Tour schedule, or most of the Midwest Tour races. We're missing like two just to go. We're gonna go run the Stars race at Toledo. We're gonna hit the Nationals. Obviously, we're gonna try to hit the Slinger track a little bit more now that they got that Triple Crown series. I think that's a pretty cool deal that they got going on. We got the All American at the end of the year. I love that one. We got coming up next week. We got the Rattler 250. That would be a good way to kick off the 26th season. And yeah, I mean, handful of ASA Stars races, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And I don't want to put any undue pressure on you, but do you feel like, okay, at some point in my development, I want to win a race or I want to win X amount of races or whatever you want to say to show, hey, I'm progressing in my sport?
Yeah. My goal every week I go to the track is to win. I mean, I'll take top 5 runs. I'll take top 10 runs. They're solid. But obviously, last year going winless, it gets to a guy once in a while. And this year, I'm going to go for wins, and hopefully, get some.
I'll end on this note. Who is Penn Sauter? I mean, I know you're young and you're still a teenager, but what do you like to do away from the track, or is it just all racing all the time? Are you just a young man that's focused on the eyes and the prize? Who is Penn Sauter?
Honestly, every weeknight after school, I'll go help my dad in the shop, work on the car. I like to go to the gym. I like to hang out with my friends, and it's kind of me. I don't really play high school sports. It's kind of I'm kind of boring, but yeah, it's I love working in the shop with my dad. That's one thing I really love to do.
Setting new PRs in the gym? Are you doing big bench stuff, or what are you
Yeah.
doing?
Nothing much like that. I've had my trainer Mo now for about 2 months. He helps me out a ton. He's the one that kind of got me into the theory of it's not all about how much you can lift; it's about the quantity you can do.
Absolutely, and the quality that you do. Absolutely, no doubt about it. And are you a music guy? Are there any songs that speak to you? Anything that you've read that inspires you? Any of your heroes, so to speak, that have kind of given you passion?
Yeah, I love listening to music. I probably have my AirPods in way too much. I like listening to music. The show Outer Banks, I love to watch that. Looking forward to the new season coming up, and yeah, that's what I love to do.
That's awesome. Well, Penn, we wish you nothing but obviously those of us especially in the Midwest area, are pulling for you. I want you to do extremely well. And yeah, like you said, let's hope you get that first win. And once you break through that door, I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come in 2026. Thank you for the
All
time.
right, all right. Thank you, Lance.
No problem. That's Penn Sauter right here on the Kawicki Driver Development Program.